Tim Petrowich of the Marion Daily Republican here with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. Coming up on week 7 of the high school football season. It's homecoming week against Centralia, but first again let's talk, Coach, about last week's game. And I think the most impressive thing I thought was the defensive effort. You took a team that was scoring 37 points a game, allowed them just for 1 touchdown throughout the whole game. And they had several chances in the red zone throughout the game, and especially in the fourth quarter. The defense shut them down.
It did, and you know, it's as good a defensive performance as I've seen since I've been here. You know, and Coach Seema, Coach Wimberly, Coach Dunning, his brother Matt Dunning, and Greg Robinson, all guys on the defensive side of the ball just did a great job in putting together a good game plan and then getting the kids to buy into it. And just to the kids who just played so hard, you know, especially down in the red zone, they made some plays and they played very aggressive, but they played smart, and just a great defensive effort. It was really an inspired effort, and we needed that. Offense, you know, was going up against a pretty good defense. We struggled at times, and they came through for us.
You hate to mention names because you always forget some, but I think a couple of players that stood out in particular to me. Nick Hudson had a really good game coming off the injury, and I also thought that Jay Riley had a big play with that interception in his first start.
He did, and you know, Jay is got a lot of potential. He's going to be a great player for our program, and you see flashes. And he steps right into a varsity game and just handles it really well, shows a lot of poise on the field. And as far as Nick Hudson goes, people don't realize how good of a football player he is, because he played for us last year after missing his sophomore year, and he just kept getting better. By the end of the year, he became a dominant defensive player. And then this year, he gets hurt in the first game, first quarter, the first game against Granite City, and now he's just getting back to where he's looks like Nick again. And yeah, he's an impact player, and he's great size and speed, and really makes a difference on the field. He's a smart player, he's a team player, and it's just good to have him back on that side of the ball.
The two players with the most tackles last week, defensive backs, Marcus Green and Greg Lee. We talked about Greg, but you hate to see defensive backs sometimes having the most tackles, but Marcus had 2 of his tackles for loss. So.
He did, and sometimes, I think Marcus is kind of playing a hybrid player for us now, kind of an outside linebacker type, but Greg and Marcus both play a little bit like linebackers in the secondary anyway. They play very physical, they fill holes pretty quick, and it doesn't surprise me. I think the other factor is, sometimes when your defensive backs are making tackles, that's not a good sign, but sometimes when you play a spread team, it's more likely to happen because the ball's being thrown or ran laterally so much that your secondary players can get more involved in the defensive scheme. So, yeah, great job all around, as you said, but those 2 players did stand out. And Marcus has had a great season on defense, but also Marcus has had a great year on special teams for us. He's an impact player and just a junior, so we've got another year with him as well.
You mentioned special teams. That leads me into my next question. 10 of your 17 points against Althoff came from special teams. We've talked about how the special teams has been a big contributor for you this year, and it was again Friday night.
Oh man, week in and week out. I mean, you can point to every game and you can find the special teams making a big play, either by field position or scoring points or setting up a touchdown. I mean, it's been huge for us this year, and Coach Webb and Coach Schulmeister have just done such a great job working with our players, and we've tried to make some practice time for week in and week out almost every single day. We've increased our time for special teams, and it's paid off for us. People talk about special teams being about a third of the game or 1 out of every 4 or 5 snaps in special teams play, but there's no greater transfer of yardage in football than a kickoff or a punt return or kickoff return, and I believe that. I mean, we've always preached it, but I think now we're doing a better job of making sure we focus more on special teams, and it has really paid off for us.
And I think it would be a mistake to not mention the fact that Dalton's done a really good job stepping in as a punter.
He has. We lost Nick and Nick Lewis, and for Dalton to come in and take on another job, but we use him in a quick kick set. We can use him in a traditional punting set, and he's done a really good job for us. We also have a potential of running other things out of those sets if we need to. So, yeah, another thing we're going to lean on him to do, but he's pretty good at it.
Let's talk about this week. Centralia's coming into town. It's not the Orphans that are 0 for the last 3 or 4 years. They got a win this year. They've been fairly competitive in some games, and down only 12-0 last week against Cahokia at halftime.
Much better football team. We saw glimpses last year that improved, and he gave us a great ball game for the first half last year, and much improved. Ray Calling is a head football coach there, and their coach was at Modern Day, for several years, had a lot of success, and he's a great football coach, and he's going to build a winner at Centralia. You can already see that the kids starting to buy into it. Their numbers are up. They're playing harder. They're fundamentally better. And I know that in the very near future we're going to be talking about a big conference clash with Centralia, because it's going to be that way. I really have a lot of confidence in his abilities as a coach and a lot of respect for him. But their record isn't real good this year, but they're getting better week in and week out. And you're right, last week against Cahokia was one of their best performances against the leader in the conference right now. So we're not taking this lightly. We got a wake-up call last year against them, and we've got to come to play.
They lost their quarterback last week, and I understand he's got a broken thumb. He's out for the season. How much does that change them? Because I know they passed the ball on their offense.
Well, he was pretty impressive on film. I mean, he was putting up some big numbers, and they have kids that can go catch it. I'm sure they're going to continue that to some extent. Of course, maybe not to the level they were, but I don't know much about the young man taking his place other than what I've seen on some film. But yeah, it's a blow to him. I know this kid had a great game on the all-taught film. He had a great game against some earlier teams, and just looking at the paper and the statistics, but. We know we've got our work cut out for us no matter who they play at quarterback, because they've got other weapons. They've still got kids that can catch it. They've still got some good running backs. So he may just lean more on some other phase of their running game, and it's something we've got to be ready for.
What's the biggest concern with Centralia?
I think right now the biggest concern is not knowing exactly what they're going to do offensively because of the quarterback situation. You scout someone with a quarterback like that, you know what you can expect to see, but we don't really know. So we've got to make some guesses here about what we think they might do. And I think the other thing is just making sure we execute, because this is a football team that's getting better. They're getting closer to beating people, and we want to make sure that we're focused and not distracted by the homecoming stuff, but using homecoming as a motivator. I think our kids have shown that so far this week.
Talk about that factor in the game. Do you prepare any differently because it's homecoming, or because you don't want the kids to think it's a different kind of game? Do you go about it the same way?
Well, I think the thing that we try to do as a coaching staff is just remind the kids a little more often that our job for homecoming, other people can build floats and do skits and take care of all that other fun stuff, prepare for the dance and decorate. The job of this football team is to win the homecoming football game. And in my opinion, homecoming is not truly a success unless the football team wins the ball game. So that is our job as a staff and as a team, is we've got to take care of the ball game. The dance is a lot more fun when you've won on the field. So we keep reminding them of that. And I think there are a lot of things about the Marion homecoming that are special, that remind the players of how important the ball game is. And that includes visiting and having breakfast at the great schools all week. And I think our players love that. And also being a part of the parade and seeing the school kids line the streets and the community line the streets and give us words of encouragement. I mean, those are things that motivate our players to want to win, not just for the school and for each other, but also for our town.
You've got some great incentives for this week. The close game last year against Centralia, the fact that it's homecoming.
Right.
Probably the most important one of those is that a win Friday night guarantees you a playoff spot. You're playoff eligible, but some 5-4 teams might not get in if you would wind up 5-4. A 6th win guarantees you a spot.
That's big, and that's one of our goals. To be a playoff team. And we want to continue that streak, and we've got a good opportunity ahead of us so far with a 5-1 start. But you're right, we want that 6th win, and we want to get that guarantee and get it out of the way, and then take the next step and continue trying to battle for the conference championship. So we think it's still open. We know that there are teams that still have some tough ball games, and we just want to take them one at a time. Centralia, the preparation for Centralia is no different. We are motivated for this ball game, and we're just trying to get better and week by week. And I know it sounds cliche, but we're not looking past anybody.
All right, Coach. Look forward to seeing you Friday night.
Look forward to it. Thanks.
Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. I'm Tim Petrowich for the Marion Daily Republican.